An Ohio mom is trying to bring attention to postpartum depression through a new effort. Elizabeth Martin has been dealing with the condition herself, and now she's turning to her love of photography to be able to spread awareness. Now, this weekend, she'll do a photo shoot with 6 moms who have gone through postpartum depression. Martin says she wants to get information to those who may feel alone.
People feel so isolated with postpartum depression, and you're far from isolated.
Now, the Mayo Clinic says there are more than 3 million diagnosed cases of postpartum depression each year in the United States. When you shop online, you may have come across products that claim to be able to clean rooms and surfaces with just UV light. But how reliable is that claim? Experts say the UV lights do a good job of reducing the amounts of contaminants, but they don't get rid of all of them. However, the technology is effective enough that places like hospitals even use them. Now, this was a tough year for doctors as they battled several infectious outbreaks. The number of measles cases was the highest this year since 1992. Researchers blame the spike on low vaccination rates. Dozens of states dealt with hepatitis A cases this year, 200 people dying from that. And some of us didn't hear about Triple E until this year, but 15 deaths prompted health warnings in some places. Doctors say catching cancer early is so important. There's a new army of workers being recruited to spot early signs of skin cancer.
You're a hairdresser, and you see who sees the head of your client more than you do? Nobody.
On Monday, the new push to train stylists and what exactly they're looking for on your head.
Temperatures a little bit cooler now, but they are on the way back up this weekend. Back in the lower 60s here Saturday and Sunday at 63. The trade-off on Sunday, though, will be some fairly widespread rain, possibly a couple of rumbles of thunder, but not anticipating any severe storms out of that. Could see 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, though. 43, so a little cooler on Monday, cooler still on Tuesday. A high temperature of 37. It will be windy those days as we dry things out. Thanks so much for joining us here on The Now Indy. The news at 6 o'clock starts right now.
An eyesore and a haven for crime has finally come down. We're talking to neighbors, seeing if the demolition has helped them build a better community. The federal government has made 21 the legal age to buy tobacco products, so we're looking into how this is impacting you. Her son was already in the battle for his life, and what she did only made worse. Now, a mother learns her punishment for a bizarre and cruel act. What she did that landed her in prison.
This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
And thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins. An apartment complex described as an eyesore and a hot spot for crime has come down. Demolition is now complete on the Oak Tree Apartments near 42nd and Post. RTV6's Megan Sanctorum returned there today and spoke with people living in the area about how this has impacted them.
This is what the site of the former Oak Tree Apartments looks like right now. There's not much more than concrete slabs, a much different scene than just months ago. The buildings are gone and the land sits empty. This 19-acre property used to be a spot filled with fires, vandalism, and violent crime.
Bad things usually just happen there.
There was a lot of, killings over there. Some of my family members was dead over there.
Homeless people always out here that's always asking for money for drugs, really, and all that.
The property was declared a public nuisance in 2013, and in 2014, the final residents were evicted due to a lack of running water.
It should have been tore down after all them years.
Not only did the vacant and closed-up apartment buildings attract crime, but the buildings themselves were unsafe.
The flooring, it was really bad, all of it. It smelled horrible over there.
So on October 30th, demolition began. Now, about 2 months later, it's complete, and people who live in the area can start to look toward the future and what could be next for this land.
I think more stores and stuff should be over there because there's really nothing over here.
Another apartment, really, if they have to rename the name of the same thing, just make it better.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
There is still no word on what the land will be used for next. We also reached out to IMPD to see if they've noticed a decrease in crime, but have not heard back yet. Sentencing this week for an Indiana woman who admitted to injecting fecal matter into her son's IV. Tiffany Alberts received 12 years with 5 years suspended. Alberts was acquitted of an attempted murder charge in September. The case dates back to 2016 after staffers at Riley Hospital discovered surveillance video showing Alberts using a syringe to inject a substance into her 15-year-old son's IV bag. He was being treated for cancer at the time. The injections caused the boy to suffer from bacterial infections and sepsis. The parents of a center of a bizarre child abandonment case now face additional charges. In addition to the original charges of neglect of a dependent, Michael Barnett and his ex-wife Christine are now charged with 4 counts of neglect causing bodily injury. Both were scheduled to go to trial together in January, but that will not happen. Instead, the Barnetts will be tried separately. The Barnetts adopted a Ukrainian orphan with reported dwarfism. They're accused of abandoning her in Lafayette a few years after adopting her. The Barnetts claim the girl was really an adult pretending to be a child. A judge has cut in half the bond for a serial arson suspect. The ruling came after the suspect told the judge that he was suffering from mental illness. D.R. Gray was in court this morning, and he told the judge that he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and psychosis more than 4 years ago. The judge then reduced Gray's bond from $80,000 to $40,000. Investigators believe Gray could be responsible for up to 20 fires that have been set on the southwest side of Indianapolis. If Gray is released on bond, he will be subject to GPS monitoring, and he will not be allowed to leave Marion County.
A bit cooler this afternoon, but this morning we were actually in the 50s. So we have had 6 days in a row in the 50s and 60s. So we know that's unseasonably warm. But what might be surprising is that out of those 6 days, we have not broken a record here in central Indiana. Next couple of days will be in that record territory, but looks like we'll fall short once again. We've had the clouds around, some areas of fog. As we look from the IMS Pagoda camera, you can see many still checking out the lights there at Lights at the Brickyard. Our temperature 39 in downtown, 45 for you in Bloomington. A little bit cooler, though, in Kokomo at 36. Satellite radar shows all the cloud cover. Starting to see a few breaks in those clouds, but we'll see the cloud cover kind of fill back in. We are dry. We talked about a little bit of that fog. Limiting visibility a little bit, especially over northeastern areas. Visibility is 5 miles right now in the Muncie area. Those temperatures dropping initially, but then kind of come back up a couple of degrees and will hold steady in the lower 40s through 10 o'clock with that patchy fog. We'll talk about the warmer temperatures and rain for the weekend in a few minutes.
Thanks, Kyle. Hey, no matter what you do, smoking, vaping, dipping, well, the federal government now says you have to be 21 to buy any tobacco products. Signed into law by President Trump a week ago, the Food and Drug Administration says businesses across the country need to be enforcing this now. RTV6's Cornelius Hawker shows us how this is impacting local businesses where you live.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Not wanting to risk breaking the law, the folks at Tobacco World are now a 21 and over establishment.
Everything in our shop is completely legal, and he likes to keep it that way.
Jason Stover is talking about his boss, who's not waiting on the Food and Drug Administration to release its final update to the tobacco law.
I've smoked for 25 years. I hate it, you know, but it's an addiction.
Jason tells me, on one hand, he gets it. He knows this was done with young people in mind to try and cut down on them smoking.
I don't want anybody that's young to even start picking up the habit, first of all.
But on the other hand,
it's bad for businesses. It's bad for, you know, all kinds of stuff. It's going to create chaos.
I went to a couple other tobacco shops, and they too are still getting used to this change, taking down signs that look like this for signs that look like this.
You're good.
Back at Tobacco World, Jason knows there's no use in fighting this change, but thinks that how quickly it happened should serve as a reminder to everyone.
I wish everybody would, you know, follow politics a little bit more closely. Even myself, you know, I don't follow it as closely as I'd like to. Because, you know, you never know what they're going to sneak in there.
The Indiana Food and Fuel Association says they are not happy with how quickly the FDA is forcing businesses to implement this change, calling it wildly irresponsible and saying it's going to impact around 10,000 businesses and more than 500,000 employees here in Indiana. They want the agency to clear up the confusion they say it's caused. Working for you, I'm Cornelius Hawker for RTV6.
We are tracking the fate of a fire department in danger of losing most of its firefighters. We've learned the Owen County Fire Territory Board will meet at 6 p.m. on January 13th. They're expecting a large public turnout. We first told you yesterday about what's happening in the Owen Valley Fire Department. They've been unable to reach a contract agreement with the Fire Territory Board, and it's getting down to the wire. The group of mostly volunteer firefighters met last night to go over final business and set up a schedule to remove their belongings from the building. Indianapolis public schools are working to make sure kids have nutritious meals even when school is not in session. During winter break, they have several cafeterias up and running for those in need. Meals are free to anyone under the age of 18. Breakfast and lunch are available at certain locations, and one of them being Butler Lab School 55. Food service leaders there say they know there is a need for this type of service, but they think many families may not even be aware that it is available to them.
Kids need to know that they're cared about, and parents need to know that there are other options. You know, there's so much negativity and so many things that you hear about that's bad. You know, this is just an opportunity to tell someone, hey, we care. Hey, we're here. Hey, you know, come on down.
We have a list of participating schools on our website, theindychannel.com. A big milestone for Gleaners Food Bank as they close out 2019. Gleaners has given out more than 500 million pounds of food over its 40-year history. Today, Gleaners observed the moment with a send-off of a truck filled with food that will make its way to food pantries across central Indiana. Gleaners says its goal in 2020 is to help cut down on wasted food that should be going to someone who is hungry. A new invention can prevent you from losing your ID cards, and it's the brainchild of a central Indiana woman. Next on RTV6 News at 6, how it works and how it's creating jobs. We've got the Fighting Irish playing this weekend on RTV6. Coming up in sports, see how Notre Dame is getting ready for Saturday's bowl game assignment down in Florida.
And we've got more warm temperatures coming our way this weekend, so it means we're talking about rain instead of snow moving in. I'll let you know how much could fall by Monday morning. You're watching RTV6 News at 6.
Only at Ashley Home Store. This is home. This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
Each day for the past year, Hiring Hoosiers has worked to connect you to job opportunities, resources, training, and education. Our Lauren Casey is checking out a unique local business and its young college student owner who's getting Hoosiers hired.
So the Socket Locket is an adhesive card holder where you can hold up to 1, 2, or 3 cards securely in place.
Cicero native Katie Gelhausen is a 20-year-old college student, and like any college student, carries around her phone and school ID wherever she goes.
You can pair it with your own phone grip and combine the two.
So a device like this Socket Locket is really handy, and she found it's something her friends need. The catch? It didn't exist at first.
So the idea kind of sparked when one of my friends had taken off her card holder and put on a phone grip and then lost her cards. There was nothing out there like the Socket Locket.
Katie is an entrepreneurship student at High Point University in North Carolina. She came up with the idea for the Socket Locket, and at 19 years old, took action.
So it all started with basically just a sketch.
She did research, made sketches, earned a prototyping scholarship, and is now patent pending. When looking for places to manufacture her product, she looked back home to Indiana, a place where she could be involved in the production process.
It just seemed like fate that it was only 20 miles up the road.
And that's where Mike Lieger with Progressive Plastics comes in.
Katie's been a powerhouse. She's very creative.
Mike and Progressive Plastics decided to take on the Socket Locket project. The Elwood manufacturer is a full-service custom injection molding company specializing in medical, military, and aerospace products. And inventors are especially important to this local businessman.
She has created something out of nothing, and that something demands attention. And that affects every facet of the manufacturing process. There's prototype tooling, we've got assembly workers, we've got production operators, tooling people that all are touched by a new product.
The success and demand for Katie's product not only impacts her business, but Mike's as well, allowing him to hire more Hoosiers.
This is going to end up requiring us to increase our staff probably 10 to 15%.
Not only providing jobs to his community in Elwood, but also helping his employees feel fulfilled in their work.
We want to make sure they understand that their reach goes much further than Elwood, that there are people all around this country that are picking up the products that you've produced. And I think that means a lot in terms of somebody being able to get out of bed in the morning.
Our Lauren Casey with that report. If you want to learn more about Socket Locket as well as job opportunities with Progressive Plastics, we've posted more information for you under this story at hiringhoosiers.com. When you think of spending time outdoors in December, playing in the snow probably comes to mind. Well, turns out local golf courses have seen a brisk business this week due to unseasonably warm weather. We saw several people on the links, the South Grove Golf Course. But one of the managers tells us scenes like this during this time of year are not as uncommon as you'd think.
So we have the guys who are playing right now who they'll come out any weather, any temperature. Basically, we have to tell them when they can't play. They'll be here every day. And then we do have the fair weather players, and then the ones who just get excited when there is a break and they're able to come out.
South Grove says on Thursday when temperatures were in the 60s, business was almost comparable to what you'd see on a summer weekday.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of kids who were out taking out those new toys, maybe the bike that they got for Christmas, and getting a chance to ride it around now that temperatures are a little warmer and all that snow has melted away. And we're not talking about any snow coming our way for a while. Temperatures right now 30s and 40s, cooler 30s to the north around Peru and Tipton at 37, 10 degrees warmer in Bedford at 47. And as we look at the satellite and radar, we're starting to see more breaks in the cloud cover here. So we'll go partly cloudy for a little while before those clouds build back in, but we're still going to have some of that fog. That's really not going to go away here as we head through the overnight hours, but temperatures will remain fairly steady in the upper 30s and lower 40s. As we go into your Saturday forecast, the clouds are back with us, but most of the day going to be dry here. There are those temperatures warming quickly once again. We're at 51 at noon, so we'll be back around 60 degrees tomorrow. Upper to middle 50s around Marion, Indiana at 55, 59 in Anderson. We find those temperatures, though, jumping to 64 in Martinsville, 61 in the city, and 65 in Seymour. Again, we'll be close, but not quite to a record. So tomorrow, the rain chances very low. As we get into Saturday night and Sunday, they get likely and will be there for much of our Sunday into Sunday night. So here's a look at TrueCast. 8:30 tomorrow evening. That's when we see a few of those scattered showers around the area. More widespread rain, though, as we go into your Sunday morning. So the second half of the weekend certainly going to be the soggier part here, possibly even a few rumbles of thunder, and it looks like we'll get another wave of rain moving our way into our Sunday evening before the whole system starts to kind of spin its way off to the east and northeast for us, but leaving behind most areas about 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, a little lighter to the north and west, but you get under a couple rumbles of thunder there and you could have some higher totals. Temperatures still on Sunday 63 and very mild, but will drop by about 20 degrees going into our Monday forecast at 43. It's also going to be windy, so not only is it going to actually turn colder, but it will feel colder than that. We could have some wind gusts both Monday and Tuesday between about 30 and 40 miles per hour. 7-day planning forecast now for you, and we've got that chance for showers and storms Sunday, then we dry it out, but it's going to be the wind and the colder temperatures that we deal with. Monday, Tuesday's high just 37, but that is where we should be for this time of year. New Year's Day, we'll see a little bit of sunshine returning, and so are the 40s and 50s by the end of next week, so we're not quite done with the mild temperatures. Another chance for rain a week from today.
That's good for New Year's, because you recall in recent years it's been around 0.
Very cold.
Tough to stand out there until midnight.
Be a little more pleasant this year.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Kyle. Brad Brown standing by with sports and a look at the Colts.
Kyle and Mark, thank you. And one of this week's least surprising headlines starts us off. Runner Nyheim Hines named AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Not 1 but 2 punt returns for touchdowns last Sunday against the Panthers. First NFL player in 7 years to do that. Also set a team record with 195 return yards. Hines is the 4th Colts player to earn an AFC Weekly honor this season. And good evening, everyone. The Colts' final game of the season will not be a tune-up for the playoffs. It will, however, be a final exam of sorts for a bunch of guys on the Colts roster. More than a dozen will be free agents to start 2020, and a few of them could be playing to keep their spots with the Colts. One more practice before one more road trip. The Colts taking it back indoors on Friday. Expecting temperatures in the mid-70s for Sunday in Jacksonville. There's a solid chance of some rain in the afternoon down there as well. The Colts could still have a big effect on the AFC playoffs, though. If they win, it would help determine the final wildcard spot between Oakland, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee. After a strong effort last Sunday in the home finale, the Colts are looking for more of the same one more time.
It's tough when you're out of it for sure, but we got the type of guys that came in here and we had, played well last week and had a good week of practice before that game and have another good week of practice. So excited to go out there and push ourselves against a good Jacksonville team and a good Jacksonville defense, speaking on the offensive side. So it'll be a tough challenge for us.
Jordan Wilkins and Quincy Wilson already ruled out with injuries for Sunday. D'Amico Autry and Quentin Nelson are both still in concussion protocol. It seems more likely of the two that Nelson will be ready to play. Kenny Moore also listed still as questionable. He has a sore ankle. Receiver Michael Walker, the only one ruled out so far for the Jaguars. Notre Dame is used to being part of college football's bowl season, but often playing a bit closer to New Year's Day. The Fighting Irish were in the playoff conversation for a bit this fall, but ultimately they earned a trip to this weekend's Camping World Bowl. Camping World Bowl. The Fighting Irish have been in Orlando all week. Got their first chance to practice inside Camping World Stadium on Thursday. In between, they had trips to Universal Studios, a couple of charity events as well. Coach Brian Kelly announcing that former Indy quarterback Tommy Rees will be calling plays for the offense in the game. Otherwise, the coach is trying to keep things as standard as possible.
You know, we get all the work necessary before we come down here, and then it becomes repetitive in a sense, in that we practice like we normally would during the season, and then these guys get some downtime and are able to enjoy being together.
You can see the Fighting Irish right here on RTV6, a noon kickoff against Iowa State on Saturday. We've had another bowl game on New Year's Day, Michigan and Alabama, a couple of big boys. That one is also in Orlando. The Citrus Bowl starts Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Spend part of your New Year's Day with us right here on RTV6. The Pacers play in Miami tonight. The Heat have lost just once at home this season. We'll see if the blue and gold can add another to that. I have highlights for you at 11. We're back to finish up tonight's news at 6 after one more break.
Jeep Ram.
The only name you need to know.
Well, here's a wonderful story of a young man learning an important lesson. The family of Christian Schutten gave the 11-year-old $50. Here's the catch. The 5th grader at Creston Middle School had to donate the money to people as an act of kindness. He had 5 envelopes and got the job done. This young man recently earned a sportsmanship award. He plays football for the Warren Township Football Club. His parents are proud of his abilities on and off the field. Whether you're someone who likes to get Christmas all cleaned up after the 26th, or you're that person who keeps up the tree until the new year, the Department of Public Works and Indy Parks want to help you get rid of your tree the green way. Recycling is happening at parks all over Marion County right now at 9 different locations. We caught up with a man visiting his in-laws here in Indianapolis, all the way from Canada. He says helping recycle his mother-in-law's tree was a no-brainer.
To do the right thing, instead of just putting it out in the trash. A good community spirit thing to do, I think, and I hope everybody will do something with their tree like that.
Trees should be left at specially designated areas that you'll find at drop locations. They need to be free of ornaments, lights, and tinsel, and they have to be real. You can recycle your tree through January 31st in Marion County. We put a full list of drop sites in this story on the RTV6 app and at theindychannel.com. Happy Kwanzaa. It's the second day of the celebration of African-American culture, focusing on family and community. Each day of Kwanzaa is dedicated to 7 principles: unity, self-determination, collective responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Today focuses on self-determination. Kwanzaa was started in 1966 by a Pan-African Studies professor at California State University. Here's a warm and happy gift to some who cannot be home for the holidays. Volunteers from Community Hospital North Quilting Bee made special deliveries. They worked all year on almost 230 quilts. This week, they were given to patients at Community North and Community Heart and Vascular Hospital. All of the fabric used for the quilts was donated, and each of the quilters donated their time and love to this project. And I'm sure it just lit up so many faces around the area.
Yeah, so awesome, and really comes in handy on a day like today.
Right.
A little bit of a chill in the air. Still can't complain too much. It's still on the mild side for what we would expect in December, but we are going to get even warmer heading back into the weekend. 61 on Saturday with those mostly cloudy skies. A little bit warmer on Sunday, but that's also when we're going to have some fairly widespread rain. I think some scattered showers arrive tomorrow around 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, and then the widespread rain is a little closer to sunrise on Sunday. It'll stick around and possibly a couple of rumbles of thunder throughout our Sunday. 1 to 2 inches of rain there. Briefly cooler before we start warming it back up as we head into 2020.
People will be inside watching the Colts game Sunday anyway.
That's true.
Yeah. Up next here is World News with David Muir. Kyle and I will see you back here at 7 o'clock.